Have you ever seen a Muslim woman with her hands beautifully stained in intricate, reddish-brown designs and wondered, why? Why do Muslim women decorate their hands and feet with this dye? Is it just a cultural tradition? Is it something religious? Or is there a deeper reason? Perhaps something spiritual that traces all the way back to the time of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? In this video, we'll explore one of the most beautiful, yet often misunderstood, traditions practiced by millions of Muslim women around the world, the use of henna. But more importantly, we'll look at what Islam actually teaches about henna. Did the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam use it? Did he encourage it? Is it a sunnah? Or is it just cultural? Get ready, because the answers may surprise you. Henna is a reddish-brown dye made from the powdered leaves of a plant called Lawsonia inermis. When applied to the skin, it leaves a temporary stain that lasts for several days. It's completely natural, chemical-free when used in its original form, and has been used for thousands of years, not just in the Middle East, but also in parts of Africa, South Asia, and even ancient Rome. For Muslims, however, henna is more than just an ancient beauty product. It has a spiritual and religious connection. It's used during joyful events like weddings and Islamic holidays, but its use also traces back to the early days of Islam. Let's start with a fundamental question. Did the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam use henna? Yes, he absolutely did. In Sahih al-Bukhari, one of the most authentic books of hadith, it is reported that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would dye his hair using henna and another plant-based dye called katam. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to dye his hair with henna and katam. I'm Sahih al-Bukhari. This shows us something very important. Even the Prophet of Islam, a man known for his modesty, humility, and devotion, made time to care for his physical appearance in a natural and halal way. Henna was part of that. So what about Muslim women? Is applying henna part of the Sunnah for them too? The answer is yes. It is a recommended and approved practice in Islam. There is a hadith in Sunan Abu Dawud where the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told women to apply henna to their hands, especially if their hands looked similar to men's. Color your hands with henna, for it is indeed beautiful. Sunan Abu Dawud. This hadith shows that the Prophet encouraged women to maintain their feminine appearance, not for public attention, but for themselves, their families, and especially their husbands. In Islam, there's a high value placed on keeping one's identity clear and pure. Men should appear like men. Women should appear like women. And henna was one way to help maintain that distinction, in a natural, beautiful, and modest way. To some, henna might seem like just body art, but in Islam it symbolizes more than that. Henna is used to celebrate, to honor, and to beautify within the guidelines of modesty. It's applied during times of happiness, like Eid or marriage, and it reminds women of joy, community, and their identity as Muslim women. What makes henna special in Islam is not just its beauty, but its intention. If a woman applies it as an act of self-care, to bring joy to her spouse, or to follow the way of the Prophet, it becomes more than personal expression. It becomes rewarded worship. No, henna is not obligatory in Islam. It is not a requirement or command. Rather, it is something that is permissible, and in many cases, encouraged, especially when it's done for good reasons, such as beautifying oneself for one's spouse, or participating in a joyous Islamic event. So if a Muslim woman chooses not to apply henna, she is not sinful in any way. She is not less religious, and she should never be judged for that decision. In the same way, a woman who does use henna, in a modest, respectful, and sincere manner, is practicing something that is linked to the lifestyle and teachings of the Prophet. One of the most popular occasions for applying henna is during weddings. In Muslim weddings around the world, it's common to see a pre-wedding event where the bride's hands and feet are decorated with intricate henna designs. Sometimes friends and family join in too. But is this just cultural, or is there something Islamic about it? Here's the truth. As long as the gathering is halal, no free mixing, no inappropriate music or dress, then using henna during weddings is completely allowed in Islam. In fact, it's a beautiful way to honor the Sunnah of joy and celebration. Remember, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam once said, "Announce the marriage and make it known with the beat of the daf, drum." Sunan ibn Majah. He didn't discourage celebration. He guided it. And henna, used during a wedding in a clean, modest environment, is one of the most beautiful ways to do that. Now let's answer a very common question. Can Muslim men use henna? The answer is yes, but only in certain ways. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam encouraged men to dye their gray hair and beards using natural substances like henna and katam. There's a famous hadith, "Be different from the Jews and Christians. Dye your white hair." I'm Sahih al-Bukhari. So dyeing the beard or hair with henna is actually recommended for men. However, men are not allowed to decorate their hands or feet with henna the way women do. That type of beautification is specifically for women. Why? Because Islam promotes clear distinction between the genders in how they dress and appear. This helps protect identity, dignity, and the fitrah, the natural order Allah has created for us. You may be surprised to learn that henna was also used by the Prophet ﷺ and his companions as medicine. In the books of prophetic medicine, Tib al-Nabawi, henna is mentioned as having healing properties. It was used for soothing wounds, cooling down fevers, treating skin conditions, relieving headaches. It's reported that one of the Prophet's companions had an injury, and he was advised to apply henna as a natural treatment. Henna is a cooling herb with antibacterial properties. Even modern science has confirmed its benefits for the skin. So henna wasn't just decorative, it was also part of the Prophet's natural, holistic approach to health. If you've ever been around Muslim women the night before Eid, you may have noticed the excitement around applying henna. It's a time-honored tradition in many families to apply henna before Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Adha. And while there is no explicit hadith commanding this, it fits perfectly with the Islamic teaching of grooming and beautifying oneself before Eid. The Prophet ﷺ would wear his best clothes and apply perfume for Eid. Similarly, Muslim women are encouraged to dress nicely, modestly, of course, and adorn themselves in a halal way. So yes, henna before Eid is a beautiful Sunnah-based tradition, and one that brings happiness to hearts. Is it okay for young Muslim girls to use henna? Yes, absolutely. There's no harm in letting young girls enjoy the experience of applying henna, especially during joyful occasions like Eid or family events. In fact, it can be a great way to teach them the value of Islamic celebration, natural beauty and joy within modesty. As long as it's done for fun, with no intention of showing off or copying inappropriate trends, it's completely permissible and even encouraged. The spiritual meaning of henna, beyond its beautiful appearance, lies in its symbolism of purification, modesty, and gratitude. The Prophet Muhammad ﷺ appreciated the simple yet meaningful acts that drew a believer closer to cleanliness and beauty in a halal manner. Let's explore deeper. Henna, a mark of feminine beauty and identity. In Islam, there is no denial that a woman's beauty is honored and protected. The use of henna became a sign of femininity, something distinct from men. Even during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, women were encouraged to embrace beauty, but always in the boundaries set by Islam. Henna wasn't just decoration. It was an act of ibadah when applied with the right intention. If a woman adorned herself with henna to please her husband, maintain her appearance, or follow the Sunnah, she was rewarded. There's a narration in Abu Dawud that states, a woman gestured with her hand from behind a curtain to the Prophet ﷺ, and he said, "What is this? A hand of a man or a woman?" She said, "A woman." He said, "If you were a woman, you would use henna on your hands." This hadith shows the distinction between the appearances of men and women and how henna was a clear identifier of femininity. It's modest, it's traditional, and it's beautiful. Most people only associate henna with celebrations, but there's another deeply spiritual side to it. It is narrated that in earlier generations, henna was also used when preparing a body for burial. The fragrance and cleansing properties made it a part of ghusl, ritual washing for the deceased. This isn't widely practiced today, but historically, it was a way to honor the deceased Muslim woman, cleansed, purified, and beautified for her final journey to Allah. One of the most vibrant expressions of henna is during weddings. Across Muslim cultures, from Morocco to India, from Somalia to Malaysia, henna nights are filled with nasheeds, laughter, and dua. But here's something powerful to remember. Henna in weddings is not a cultural sin, as long as it's within Islamic limits. These joyful nights allow women to gather, strengthen their bonds, and prepare the bride in a halal way for her new chapter. No dancing in mixed gatherings, no alcohol, no impermissible acts, just pure celebration with modesty. The Prophet ﷺ never forbade celebration. In fact, he encouraged lawful enjoyment. He ﷺ said, "Announce the marriage and strike the duff, tambourine for it." Utirmidi. This shows how Islam encourages joy and festivity, but in a beautiful and controlled way. Henna is a big part of that celebration. Today, some people ask, is henna haram? And the answer is simple. Henna is halal. As long as it doesn't imitate non-Islamic practices, involve images of living beings, or include chemical substances harmful to the body, it is completely permissible. However, it's important to avoid black henna, which can contain harmful chemicals like paraphenylenediamine. That version is not sunnah. That version may harm your skin and contradict the principle. In Islam, do not harm yourself or others. The Prophet ﷺ encouraged the natural, the safe, and the pure. That's what henna originally was. So if you're applying henna with the right niyyah, intention, you are reviving a sunnah, something loved and recommended. A question often asked, can men use henna? Yes, but with conditions. There are reports that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ dyed his hair and beard with henna. Even some companions, like Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, were known to use henna and kaitam, a black dye mixed with henna. In Sahih Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, "The best thing with which to change gray hair is henna and kaitam." So it is not just for women. For men, it was used for beards and hair, not for hands or decorative purposes. The distinction between the genders in terms of style and placement remains important in Islam. Using henna in a way that mimics female appearance is not allowed for men, but using it for gray hair, beard care, or medical reasons is not only allowed, it was practiced by the Prophet ﷺ himself. Let's shift the focus for a moment from spiritual to physical. Henna is not just a decoration, it is a healing plant. Even today, modern science confirms what the early Muslims already knew. Henna has antibacterial and antifungal properties, natural cooling effects, which help reduce headaches and fevers, healing effects for wounds and skin infections. In fact, the Prophet ﷺ recommended natural substances like black seed, olive oil, honey, and henna for various physical issues. One narration suggests henna helps with foot blisters. This shows how Islam is not just a religion, but a way of life, complete guide for both the heart and the body. We are taught to take care of ourselves, and using henna for healing is not only natural, it's sunnah. Some people argue henna is cultural, not Islamic. But let's be honest, not everything cultural is un-Islamic. Islam doesn't reject culture, it filters it. If something in the culture aligns with Islamic values, promotes modesty, joy, and well-being, it's not only acceptable but often encouraged. Henna is one of those gifts that cross cultures. Whether it's the swirling vines in North Africa, the fine dots in India, or the bold circles in Arabia, each design tells a story. And when done modestly, it adds to the beauty that Allah has permitted. Henna isn't sunnah just because it's beautiful. It becomes sunnah when it's used with the right intention. The Prophet ﷺ didn't love henna just for its color. He loved what it represented: purity, care, cleanliness, and femininity. So next time you apply henna, ask yourself, am I following the sunnah? Am I maintaining modesty? Is this pleasing to Allah? If the answer is yes, then you're doing more than painting your skin. You're reviving a sunnah. You're celebrating your faith. You're aligning with the timeless wisdom of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Finally, let's reflect on something deeper. The Prophet ﷺ said in many hadiths that every act done for Allah will be recorded, no matter how small. Even a smile, even applying henna, if done to please Allah, can be a rewarded act. Imagine this. On the Day of Judgment, your deeds are weighed, and among them, a small, sincere act, putting on henna with the intention of following the sunnah, tips the scale. Isn't that powerful? We live in a time when it's easy to forget the beauty of simplicity. But Islam reminds us, even the smallest act, when done for Allah, is not small in His eyes. So dear sisters and brothers, henna is not just a color. It's a story. It's a sunnah. It's a connection to our Prophet ﷺ. It's a way to express halal beauty, celebrate with joy, and care for our health. Let us honor this tradition with knowledge, with modesty, and with intention. May Allah accept our efforts in reviving this blessed sunnah. May He guide our hands toward what pleases Him, and beautify our hearts before we beautify our skin. Ameen.